Hello, everyone, and welcome to Polymathy Guide. My name's Kelly, and this is video number one in our Excel Mastery series. So, this video is going to be covering the introduction to Excel and the overview of the user interface, basically, what we see when we look at an Excel screen. So, first things first, we're going to find Excel and we're going to open our first workbook. In order to find Excel, we need to go down here to the bottom left corner to our Start button. We're going to press our Start button, and here in this search uh, window, we're going to type Excel. And if we were overzealous and pressed enter when we got done typing, it would have automatically opened the Excel startup window. But for the rest of us, it returns the Excel app. We'll go ahead and click on that to open it. And it opened on my adjacent screen, but here you go. This or something similar to this is what everybody should be seeing. What Excel shows us on their startup window is the option of a blank workbook, a handful of quick tutorials on certain features that Excel has, and then it also has a handful of pre-canned workbooks that are designed and formatted in such a manner that they satisfy kind of everyday needs for folks, be it a weekly or monthly budget, excuse me, a schedule of chores, calendars, invoices, invitations, things of that nature. Not dissimilar from the same sort of things you might see in Microsoft PowerPoint or Microsoft Word. This is just the Excel version. And if you were looking for more pre-canned templates, you can always click on the More Templates hyperlink here, and it will take you to a larger list of the templates that are already loaded into Excel, and a place where you can go to search for more on the World Wide Web. For the purpose of this particular video, we're just going to stick with a blank workbook. So go ahead and click on the blank workbook. There we have it. We've opened our first workbook. So in an Excel file, the product that you're dealing with is called a workbook. And a workbook is comprised of sheets, which is short for spreadsheets. Sheets are comprised of cells. And what you see in the main body here of the screen, this grid or all of these blocks is what they look like. These are all called cells. So when we're referring to things, just ensure that you add to your vocabulary, when talking to other folks, or when you hear it from me, that you know what a cell is, what a sheet is, and what a workbook is. So this whole thing that we see in front of us, this is Excel's user interface, and there's a lot of fancy mumbo jumbo happening in the background that we don't see, but that manifests in the form of this user interface, and this is how we interact with what's going on in the background. Okay. With that said, we're going to start at the top of our screen and just kind of work our way down, hitting on the major points of each section. We'll avoid going into great detail in this particular video as we dive into or take more in-depth looks at specific sections as we move through the course in later videos. So right off the bat, we have the name of the workbook here. And since we're here, let's go ahead and rename the workbook, because book one, or if you already have a book one, book two, has very little to do with what's actually in the workbook. And so one of the first things we always want to do is name the workbook. So if we click on the name here, you see that it will open this dialog window. It says, do you want to save this file? Yes, of course we do. And what do you want to name it? We'll name it something more applicable, like Excel course, maybe WB for workbook. Would you like to save it in documents? Sure. I've already done one because this is like the 19th time I've recorded myself making this video. So do you want to overwrite it, or do you want to replace the existing file? Absolutely. Next to the file name, you can see that we have our quick access toolbar. The quick access toolbar is where our most commonly used actions are stored, or where we keep them. So right now it comes by default with undo, redo, save, and then next to that you also have the toggle where you can toggle on and off auto save. If this is too many actions that we see on the quick access menu and we want to remove some, or we want to add some, there is this drop down caret where we can select that, and by adding a check mark next to these other items, we can add that to our quick access toolbar. If that isn't enough, we can go to more commands and we can get access to the whole gamut of possibilities for what we can add to our quick access toolbar. So like I said, you can press the little drop down caret there to open that, or you can simply right click on the quick access toolbar, and there in the middle we see customize quick access toolbar. Takes us to the same spot. Again, this is a theme as we run through these courses. This is the theme with Excel, that there's 1,000 different ways in which a person can achieve an outcome. Some are extremely efficient, some are not efficient. At the end of the day, unless we're talking about just raw speed and the fastest possible way to get to an outcome, the truth is the most efficient and most timely way that you can execute a task is the one that you are most familiar with. Now, I encourage you to get familiar with the most efficient way that you can find. So it's a little bit of two birds with one stone thing. But if you know that there's a quicker way to do something, but you're just not there yet with using that function, I encourage you to practice that action. But for the time being, use what you know, because that's going to be the fastest way that you as an individual can produce a particular outcome. So enough belaboring that point. We're going to skip across the search bar for the moment. We're going to come back to that. And in the top right hand corner, you can see that we have the close application, expand, minimize, maximize, all the stuff that is par for the course with any Microsoft application that you've dealt with in like the last 25, 30 years. So most of this stuff should be pretty normal for you. If not, click around, get familiar with it. So moving down from the quick access menu, or we get to kind of the star of the show, which is our ribbon. And our ribbon is organized by these tabs across this menu here. And these tabs show the different ribbons available. It starts with file. File is essentially the kind of the behind the curtain for Excel, this is where you can print and export and share and save and go through a plethora of options as it pertains to your user preferences within Excel. Home, this is the meat and potatoes of what you're going to use 90% of your time working in Excel. This is where we find things like the clipboard, and we can adjust the font and alignment. We can go through a wide range of number formatting, be it currency or percentage or fractions or dates, what have you. So that's their conditional formatting. We'll get into that later. You can insert, delete, and format cells, columns, rows. A lot of fun tools here in editing. And of course, you have your Copilot assistant here. We're going to get into that much later. And then just a quick shortcut to create and share an Adobe PDF. And you'll see this later in one of our ribbon tabs, but this is a shortcut to that. So next to home is insert. This is where we can insert pivot tables. We can take a data set and convert it into just a standard table. We can create forms. We can add pictures. We can create charting. We can add text and headers and all sorts of fun stuff to our sheet. This is more on the final kind of report or end user preparation of a workbook, not necessarily in the first like 90% of creating and tailoring and manipulating a data set. We don't use a lot of what's on the tail end of the ribbon over here. But definitely the left side of the ribbon, we do use a lot of that. And we'll get into that in great detail. Next to insert is draw. This is where we can simply mark up a worksheet. Page layout is next to draw. And here we can apply themes. We can mess with print margins. We can mess with scaling and taking, say, pictures and text and moving it forward and back in our view. Next to page layout is formulas, and this is where the function library is. You can get to all the functions that Excel has from the function library. Fun to explore and see what's available in each one of the categories in the function library. But ultimately, as we work our way through this course, we're going to develop the function library as part of our vocabulary. And so when we need a particular function, we're just going to simply write it in as it's needed. And we'll cease needing to go through clicking the tab and going into the function library and finding the particular function. There's just much more efficient ways to do that. And that's always what we want to be striving for. Elsewhere in here, we've got insert Python, an incredibly useful portion of Excel. In the grand scheme of Excel, still relatively new, but definitely will revolutionize some of the things that you've been doing rather longhand for quite some time. Defining names and name manager, very helpful when it gets to having multiple tables, when it gets to having particular ranges in data sets. Defining names and getting it organized in that manner, you'll find down the road will become extremely useful. So formula auditing, error checking, very helpful when it comes to having circular relationships, like the Achilles heel of anybody that's been deep in the bowels of Excel writing formulas, and you'll stumble upon it. Everybody does. It's is just one of the fun parts of Excel, but this can get you to where the error is very quickly and help you resolve it. And then we have the calculation section. Next to formulas is data, and data is where we can get and transform data. We can perform queries. You can change the data types. You can sort and filter. So if you have a data set in front of you and you want to organize it, let's say there's a list of names and you want to organize them alphabetically A to Z or Z to A, you can do that. You can filter to where you take out all the names that start with F, or you can only show all the numbers that start with 4, things of that nature. You can change text to column. This sort of function is where you have maybe you've imported a CSV, which is comma separated values. That is exactly what it sounds like. It's values that are separated by comma. When you import that into Excel, it will come in as just a singular column with all this data that's separated by commas. You're going to use your text to column function to get that to separate out into multiple columns by leveraging that comma as the delimiter. Flash fill, remove duplicates, data validation, all fun stuff that we're going to get into over time. What if analysis in the forecast sheet, extremely useful when you're performing, for example, Monte Carlos, or when you're trying to achieve a particular outcome from your data set, or say from a schedule, or anything of that sort. Group and ungroup. This is where we can take a large data set and compress it down by simply automatically hiding certain portions that feed a higher level of the data. And basically, this is for reporting or making it so that the information is more digestible for the end user. Beyond data, we have review. This is our proofing section, and this is where we can do spell check, and we can check performance and adjust accessibility. We can translate languages. We can provide comments on a worksheet. We can apply notes. I think most importantly is this section right here, where we discuss protecting sheets and protecting workbooks. And one you should always protect if you care about the validity of your product being useful over time. Protecting your sheet and protecting your workbook will make that so. There's also a way in which you can protect a sheet or a workbook so that it is not value added, and that in fact it makes it more difficult to engage with for the end user. So, uh, you know, with regards to protecting, rule number one, yes, protect. Rule number two, protect properly. And we'll get into that later. Just know that if we needed to protect something, it's in review. Next review is view. This changes the way that we literally view our worksheet or our sheet. What we're looking at here is the normal view. We can go to page break view, which is the way that it presents what it is that will be printed out. You can view by page layout. You can switch modes from light mode to dark mode. You can mess with zoom. You can show or hide the grid lines as demonstrated there. You can show or hide the formula bar. All that stuff really important when we get to the tail end of working through working through Excel to achieve a particular end product, and we're getting ready to morph it into presentation mode. All that stuff's going to become very important at that stage. Right now, not relevant. Also in here is where you can um, perform a lot of fun stuff with your windows. You can hide windows and split windows. You can take a workbook and see two sheets at the same time and scroll through them. You can see multiple workbooks at one time. You can freeze panes so that the headers are always visible as you scroll down through um, a sheet. All very good stuff, and we will get to that. I think here is probably an appropriate time to touch on the search bar. So here you can see we're in view, and in view we have this option to freeze panes. And if we select this caret, you can see that our three options are to freeze panes, freeze the top row, or freeze the first column. And let's say that I know something exists and I don't quite recall uh where it was, but I know that something to the effect of freeze exists. I was watching one of the Polymathy videos, and he was talking about freeze something. I can go to this search bar and I can start to type freeze, and before I even get through the end of the word freeze, you can see that it already has found freeze panes, and it shows me the actions available to me. Also, with this expanding caret here, I can see the same three actions available. And those are the same three actions that are available if I was to click on the View tab and go over to the freeze pane section and drop it. See, it's all there. So, um, yeah. Moral of the story here: don't sleep on the search bar, the search box there. Incredibly useful, especially in the early days, when you're at a point where you know that things exist, but you can't exactly remember what it's called, or you can't exactly remember where it was. You're gonna find this incredibly useful. So again, that was the view window, or the view ribbon. Next to view is automate, and automate is where you can view and write scripts. This is not terribly dissimilar from writing VBA code, which is far later in the course. Here they've provided some very common scripts that people prefer. And then of course you can write your own scripts to add to this list of canned scripts. Next to automate is the help tab, similar to every other help tab that is in a Microsoft application. It takes you to a varying degree of places where you can find help trying to get solutions to a problem you have with Excel or with Word or what have you. And next to help, the last tab is Acrobat. And as you would suspect from a tab titled Acrobat, is everything to do with creating PDFs. So here you can create PDFs. You can define your preferences for the output size of the PDF. You can create and share. You can create and send for review. Um, so yeah, pretty straightforward with the Acrobat tab. Going back to the Home tab, what you see on any of these ribbons is really only the surface view, and only so many of the tools can be displayed at this top level of the ribbon. If there is an instance in which more tools are available than what's being shown at this top level of the ribbon, you'll see in the bottom right hand corner that there is a dialog box icon. And if we were to click on that, for example, for font, it would show us this dialog window where we get a lot more opportunities to mess with our font, to include underline types, strike throughs, super and subscript. We can change the border, the color of border, the type of border. a lot more opportunities to change fill color types, and then of course we have the protection, which is to lock or unlock a particular cell or make a cell hidden. And all of that stuff, while some of those things we just covered are available here, not to the detail that is available in that dialog window. So just know that when you see this in the bottom right hand corner of a ribbon section, that's what that means, that there are more tools available at your disposal. So moving down from the ribbon, we get to the formula bar. And this formula bar, whatever I write in the formula bar will show in the cell that I have activated. Just because you write it in the formula bar doesn't necessarily make it a classical formula. But as far as Excel is concerned, it is a formula to Excel. Now, all the classic formulas that we write in Excel will always start with an equals sign, but you can just type regular text into a cell and it will accept it, or you can type numbers into Excel and it will accept it. Only when you want to create an actionable formula do you need to precede it with the equals sign. So I'm getting maybe too deep into that right now, but just know that this is the formula bar, and this is where information that is in the cell is contained. If we wanted to expand the formula bar, you can see that if we hover over the bottom edge, our I-beam icon, cursor icon, turns to a vertically opposed white arrow, and we can click and drag, and we can adjust the size of our formula bar. All right. Next to the formula bar on the far left-hand side is the name box. And the name box is actually, I think, one of the more underutilized pieces of Excel. It's a very clever box. It works both ways in that it generates an output and can receive input. And I'll show you how that is here. So each cell has an address. And so this cell that I've selected here, you can tell that I've selected this cell by this superficial border that has been applied to it. If I click this cell, you can see the border changes to that cell. Anyways, each cell has an address, and the address of a given cell is its column followed by its row. So here we can see that this cell is K11. And when we click on a cell, you can see that the corresponding column header highlights and the corresponding row header highlights. And so again, we'll get back here to K11, and you can see in the name box, it shows the address of the cell that I've selected. And what's great about that is I can also say, maybe take me to J24, and if I press enter, it will take me straight to J24. Now, that's great if you have extremely large data sets, in particular if they're static data sets, and so you always have the same information in the same location. When you get to that point, not only can you go to that specific cell to retrieve whatever information that you're looking for, but let's say, for example, that in our data set, J24 always contained the answer to something. We can select J24, and in the name box, we can call it the answer. Press, whoop. We can call it the underscore answer. Okay, no spaces in the name box. Note to self. So we can call it the answer, and we can click anywhere and do whatever we want in the sheet. And then at any time, Excel will have saved that in the drop down here of the name box, and we can select that and it will take us straight to that cell. So I think that's a pretty neat function, um, especially if you have static data sets. So that's it for this section right there, the formula bar and the name box. Below the formula bar and the name box is the main body of this window, which is the sheet. And so the sheet is defined by all these cells. Again, just recapping that the columns are alphabetical. And once you get to the end of the alphabet, you can see over here that it picks up the alphabet again. And so A becomes A, B, A, C, and so on. And then the rows are identified numerically, and they go down to 1,048,000, somewhere in there. It's the sheet is quite wide and extremely long. So you've got quite a canvas to work with here in Excel. Once a cell is selected, there's a lot of things that you can do once a cell has been selected. If you take a look at my cursor, you can see that depending on where my cursor is, it changes the icon. And that icon then means that I can do certain things with that cell. And again, there's varying degrees of things that you can do with a cell once it's been selected, and we'll cover those in due time. Just know that there's a lot of layered tools and ability in Excel, and it really depends on what you're doing, what you have selected, and things like that. So moving down from the main body of the sheet, we see down here at the bottom that we have the sheet tab, and the sheet tab is where the name of the sheet is contained. And this is equally as important as naming the workbook. We want to name the sheet. In order to name the sheet, we're going to right click and we can select rename, or more efficiently, we can double click on the sheet tab and you see it automatically highlights for us to edit the sheet name. And so we'll call this video 1. Now I can press enter, or I can just simply click anywhere else in the sheet and that text will be locked in there. Depending on the version of Excel that you're using, you may see one sheet, you may see 3 sheets. All that is based on user preferences, and we'll get into that later. I prefer very clean sheets, very clean tabs, all that stuff. I like clean and organized. So I've got my options set to, when I open a workbook, only open 1 sheet. If I want more sheets, I'll simply press this plus sign here, and I can add as many sheets as I require. In order to traverse from sheet to sheet, you simply click on those sheets and it will take you to that corresponding sheet. If for whatever reason we had more sheets than was visible here and it was covered by our slider bar, we then can use these navigation arrows in the bottom left hand corner, and we can click to scroll across our sheet tabs. If in the event you have more sheet tabs than any one person knows what to do with, my preferred method to navigate through the sheet tabs is to right click on these navigation arrows, and it's going to show me the entire list here, and I can just click on said tab or double click on that sheet tab and it will take me right there. So those are more rare instances, but they do happen. Maybe rare isn't the right word, but they do happen, and that's a good way to navigate rather than trying to button mash your way across like 40 sheets. Down below that is our status row, and off to the left here, just simply has items like if you were recording a macro or something of that nature, it would indicate that here in the very bottom left. More importantly, though, I think is on the bottom right, you have where you can quickly change from view to view, be it normal or page layout or page break view. And you can also zoom in and out on a window by using this slider. Perhaps the more efficient way to zoom in and out is when you're in your sheet here and you have some cells selected, is to hold the control button and wheel forward and back, and that will zoom in and out of your sheet. I think that's the more efficient way. I'm not sure that there is a more efficient way to zoom in and out than to hold the control button and use the mouse wheel, but there you go. If you know something better, by all means put it in the comments and I'll see that. So I think at this point, we've discussed what we see in our Excel user interface. I encourage you to uh, go back, watch this video again as we work our way through some of those tabs and whatnot. Explore some of those ribbon categories. Start to put some items in a spreadsheet and just kind of play around with it. Most importantly is that we're trying to build a good foundation as it pertains to our familiarity with the user interface and the vocabulary that we have. That will make the rest of these videos much easier when it comes to referencing certain parts of the interface. So with that being said, I appreciate you sticking with me for as long as this video's been running. And if you know anybody that is interested in getting into Excel and can use just a very basic introduction courses, by all means, forward my channel onto them, and then I'll see you guys all in video number 2, where we explore navigating a sheet, and we'll go ahead and continue to build upon what we've already got in place here. See you next time.